I believe this will be the most in-depth breakdown of what went down at the 2020 Bassmaster Elite Series Texasfest. You're going to get the perspective from me as a guy who's been here as a guide. I'm on this water over 200 days a year for I don't know how many years now. And I'm going to go around and look at where all the leaders are fishing. We're going to discuss it. We're going to break it down, talk about how they're catching them, where they're catching them, give you all the details of what really went down at the 2020 Texasfest Bassmaster Elite Series. What an event this is going to be, guys. This is going to be amazing. Right now, this is actually the beginning of day 2. And day 1, recap of day 1. Holy cow, what a day we had. The legend Rick Clunn catches almost 30 pounds, 29 and change. Young man named Patrick Walters catches 24, 25 pounds. We had 8 bags over 20 pounds. Zaldane sounded very confident his way in. He had 17 pounds. He's not out of it. We've got a lot of great anglers. They're catching them better than was expected. Really, coming into the tournament, the word was it was going to be very tough. And a lot of the guys, when they got on stage, talked about how tough the bite had been in practice. Hey, I caught 3 fish over 3 days of practice, 5 fish over 3 days of practice. And then they go out on day 1 of the tournament and catch a limit. What we have, guys, is starting last Sunday, we started getting up around that 70-degree mark. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way through the end of this tournament, which this tournament starts on Thursday, will end on Sunday, we've had very stable, warm weather. Air temperatures for a high in the 70s. Most of the lows at night in the 50s. But very consistent. A little bit partly cloudy in the morning, starting to brighten up as the day goes on. And right now, day 1 was an unbelievable success, man. Lake Fork kind of showed up and showed out. There was a 9-9 caught. There was a couple 8s caught. There was some 7s caught. Like, Lake Fork absolutely showed how good it is, even in a tough time of year in the fall, when they've been struggling on all these other big bass lakes. Lake Fork really, really shined on the first day. Now, here we are on day 2, and it's about midday right now. And young Patrick Walters is kind of running away with this deal. He's doing something very unique tactically, and he's actually right there. I don't know if that boat's going to show up in the background, but that's Patrick Walters right there, and he's leading this tournament by about 13 or 14 pounds right now. He's already got 49 pounds for his total, and he is way ahead of everybody else. We're going to talk about that in detail. Let's get the boat launched. Let's get out here. I'm going to go show you guys kind of what he's fishing. We're not going to get in his way. I didn't bring any rods to fish with, but we are going to get out there and show you the type of areas he's fishing. I know this area very, very well. My buddy Zach Watts has a camp over there. We'll show you everything. Y'all just stay tuned. Let's get the boat launched. Let's get on the water in just 1 second. All right, guys, there he is. This is the day 2 leader, kind of running away with it at the time that we're talking to you. It's between 10 and 11 o'clock on the second day of the tournament on Friday. And I don't want to get close to him. I know he's far, far off. I don't want to get close to him at all. There's a couple guys getting pretty close to behind him. They're probably not bothering him much. But I'll tell you one thing I did, guys. The first thing I did when I got here, hey, graph not on. This graph, if you look at all my sonars are stopped. Turn all my transducers off. Also shut my big motor down way, way, way far away. As you can tell, I'm way far away from Patrick Walters when I shut my big motor down. Didn't want to get anywhere near him. Now I'll let the wind drift us a little bit closer with making no noise, but I want to make sure that I make 0 noise around him. I don't want anything that I do to affect what he's doing in any way, and I want to keep my distance, no doubt about that. Hey, let's talk about Patrick Walters for a second, because he is, at this time, I mean, somebody's going to have to do something this afternoon. Now, Clunn caught the big bag on day 1, so if Clunn has just a good day, a 20-pound day, he'll be right there with him at the end of the day. We still got a lot of fishing time left right now. But if you read the interview from Patrick Walters after day 1, that old boy's a little bit cheeky, as they say. Patrick Walters reported to Bassmaster that he was fishing an obvious place, and I was 20 foot of water, and the fish had to be in the right position. None of that is what's going on. None of that is what's... He's not even fishing an obvious place, like an obvious spot, an obvious piece of structure. He's actually fishing an entire area, and I'm going to take you on the other side where he's already been fishing hours ago and get way away from him again and show you the type of area he's fishing here in a minute. But he's fishing an entire stretch, a main lake stretch. Now, he is fishing that 20-foot to 10-foot depth range, but what he's doing is he's using his Garmin live scope to see which trees are holding suspending fish or just holding fish in general. And then he's throwing different baits at him, a spinner bait, a jerk bait, a drop shot. The primary bait that's catching the majority of his fish is indeed a jerk bait right now. He's getting a lot of these fish are suspending in these trees. He's seen them on live scope around those trees, throwing that jerk bait out there. And he said this morning that the jerk bait, they'll follow it a long ways away from the tree before they actually commit to it and bite it. So if you're watching the live coverage, you'll probably have noticed Patrick Walters twitch, 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 and he's watching his live scope the whole time. And then he draws them out away from that tree, gets a couple of erratic jerks on that jerk bait, and gets them to bite. Let me show you the type of bait he's throwing, guys. So basically we're talking about something like this. This is a 6 Sense Provoke 106X. This is a shallow one. He's also throwing a deeper diving jerk bait as well. Today, I believe the primary bait he's been using has been a little bit deeper diving jerk bait. But up where he's fishing right now, it's a little bit shallower. There's a pond dam that he just fished over to the right there. But right now he's fishing a little bit more of a shallow point area with some timber on it. So I'd imagine he's throwing a bait exactly like this right now. But jerk bait has been the key component for him. He's got a spinner bait tied on. He's got a crankbait tied on. He's got a drop shot tied on. And yesterday he said that the spinner bait, the jerk bait, and the drop shot were the baits that he used the most of. So that's what's going on. We're going to try to catch up with the legend Rick Clunn here after a while. Right now, I want to take you guys around the other side and show you a little bit more detail about the area that young Patrick Walters is fishing. He's doing a great job, man. He is running away with it right now. He's got, like I said, he's at 49 pounds of change the last time I looked, which is a few minutes ago. He's got like a 13 or 14 pound lead on the next guy. It's crazy, crazy. All right, folks, so directly behind me, this is where Patrick Walters caught the bulk of his weight this morning, this little area right here. Now, the ironic part is, for me, if you can see that pier in the background out there, it might be kind of hard to pick up. There's a long pier right there. There's obviously, you guys can see all the trailers. One of the RV park home campgrounds at Lake Fork. This is actually the nicest one on Lake Fork. It's called Bridgeview. It's the most nice, secure one that I know of. And the reason I know so much about it is because Z-Dub, Zach Watts, the man who many of you have seen on this channel. Heck, he's caught multiple double-digit Lake Fork bass on this channel alone. He has a camper. Him and his family have a camper right inside this outside line, right on that corner right there. And me and Zach and his son have all sat on that pier late at night, throwing into this timber right here where Patrick Walters caught a lot of his fish this morning. Now, he's not just fishing this one spot. This is not the obvious spot that he was referring to in the article yesterday. He actually started fishing here this morning, but he is fishing, if you look around me, there's timber under the water out here as well. And he's using his Garmin live scope to view all of this timber as he trolls through this area slowly. He's looking at each one with his Garmin live scope, and the ones that are holding fish, he's then fishing for. In fact, he even said that in practice, he didn't even make casts. He just went around with his live scope trolling through areas and marking waypointing trees that were holding bass. And he said today on the live stream that he has found out that a lot of the trees that were holding fish in practice are retaining them. Those fish are staying with those trees. There's something to those trees. They're sitting on the right spot. There's something to the continuity of those trees that they are holding the fish day after day. So he's actually been fishing all the way through here. He fished all the way, see the timber on that point behind me there, and then he is now around the corner. Where we just filmed him, he is around the corner. So here we are, coming up on lunchtime now, and he has been in this one area, but a big area, just slowly, methodically going through here, jerk baiting suspended fish off of timber that he's seeing with live scope. Hey, it's a big deal for fishing, man. I mean, Garmin live scope is borderline cheating, some might say. I mean, it hasn't really been on the front and center stage of people dialing it in and using it to win major tournament events like this, but it's beginning to become more common. And this may be, we may look back at this event right here and say that is the reason that live scope got banned in big tournaments. If they did it to the Alabama rig, they might do it to this. Because right now, if you're not live scoping like Patrick Walters is, he's running away. He's 15 pounds in front of everybody on day 2 right now. But to speak more on this area that he's fishing, again, it's kind of ironic. He said it's an obvious area in the article. It's not. There is a point that kind of runs out off the side of this timber here. There's an underwater point that runs out there a little bit. There's a decent little drop off coming out in front of that dock. It does drop off. There's a little bit of a soft ledge there, kind of more of a rolling ledge, not a sharp, steep ledge that we think of when we say ledge. But other than that, and there, of course, there's a point over here where I showed you guys earlier. There's a point that runs out there. there's nothing glaringly obvious. In fact, the obvious stuff that's in this area is actually over there behind us. There is a pond dam over there. There's a big ridge over there. There's got some extremely hard spots. One of my favorite offshore spots in the summer is right out there. That's the obvious stuff. This stuff over here is not obvious at all from an underwater structure standpoint. It's actually pretty nondescript as far as the structure, bottom contours that are in this little area right here that he's fishing. Live scope, man. It's changing the game. All right, let's go take a look at some of the areas where Rick Clunn, our day one leader, Rick Clunn, let's go take a look at some of the areas where he caught his big bag. Now, Rick Clunn's struggling today, but I did see him on the live stream this morning. He lost an absolute monster in one of those areas. Unfortunately for us, it is completely across the pond, so we got to make a long run. But for you guys, it'll be 1 second. Let's go see where Rick Clunn's been fishing. Okay, guys, let's talk about Mr. Rick Clunn. King Clunn! Maybe the greatest bass fisherman we'll ever see in the history of this sport. Hey, this was the dock. Now, this is the stretch of docks. I don't know for sure because they didn't have live cameras on them. But if you pan down this bank, there's about 4 docks going down this stretch right here. You can't see the last one back there, but there's 3 more docks going down that way. And then, of course, this dock right here. Now, this was a stretch of docks where he did most of his damage on day one. Now, he said that he caught 4 of his keeper fish off of one dock on this stretch. I'll believe it was that one right there. This is a known dock on this lake. It's a multifaceted dock. It's got obviously the big fishing platform at the end. It's got the boathouse. It's got the walkway behind. There's even another little platform up there by the boathouse. A lot of angles and depths to this boat dock right here. The big key component is right here on the end of it, still, even with the lake around 2 foot low, there's still a little bit over 8 foot, right about 8 foot and some change off the end of this dock. Plenty of depth. And it has a nice little gentle slope right in front of it. As you can see, plenty of standing timber leading into it. Also, as you can see, it's the first dock on the way in from the main lake. The other key factor about this dock is, I don't know if you can see, we'll get up closer in a minute and I'll show you. Rick Clunn doesn't seem to be anywhere around here since this morning, so we'll get up a little bit closer, run the trolling motor quiet, and then get out of here. We don't want to disturb any fish that might be there as little as possible. But there's ropes hanging off these docks, guys. When you see ropes hanging off these docks, they are tied to brush. That means that somebody anchored a piece of brush on the bottom of it, tied it to the top, where that brush will always stay put right there on his dock. It'll never get washed away with water current over the years. This guy has ropes and brush all over this dock. Now, his 8-pounder that everybody saw at the end of the day that he brought to the scales, that fish was actually not caught on the dock. It was caught between docks on kind of a sandy point, and he even said himself it was kind of a random fish. He certainly wasn't expecting to catch one there. He was just making casts as he moved from one area to the next and saw a little sandy point, casted up on it, and caught an 8-pounder. So oversized, deeper diving square bill crankbaits. And the other key component that Clunn said when he was fishing this dock, he said that he wasn't really catching them under the dock. He was catching them in the shade off the dock. So right now we're about midday. We're getting on towards noon now. And you can see there's not much shadow room there. But early in the morning and as the day goes later, that shade line will extend out off the dock. That's where Rick Clunn said he was catching those fish, was in the shade line right outside the edge of the dock, which is going to correlate with those brush piles that are tied off to the side of it. I'm pretty sure he was bouncing that square bill in those brush piles tied off to this dock to catch most of his day one 30-pound bag. Now let's discuss some of the depth factor on these docks that Rick Clunn is fishing, because kind of the story of the tournament outside of Patrick Walters. Patrick Walters is doing something totally unique to the rest of the field. Nobody else is doing what he's doing. But the majority of the leaders in the rest of the field at some point are mixing in some type of mid-depth for whatever reason this fall. There are a lot of Lake Fork bass there, and what I'd refer to as in-between depths, meaning that they're not really way back shallow on a flat chasing bait. They're not way out on the main lake grouped up on offshore structure. There's a lot of fish that are scattered in in-between depth from anywhere from 4, 5, 6 down to 8, 10, 12. And the big bag that Rick Clunn caught was in that the whole time. Like every fish he caught was in that 6 to 12 foot range, and a lot of it around these docks, like we said. But not only him, many of the other leaders, Bryan De Palma, we're going to show you where he fished next. The area he was fishing is the same thing. It's a mid depth. It was a bridge area. It's a little bridge gap, a funnel point that we're going to show you here in a little bit. It was the same type of in-between, what I call in-between depths. They're just mid-depth fish. They're not really on the big obvious structure. They're not really on the obvious shallow cover, the grass, the bushes, all that stuff. They're kind of stuck in between and a little bit scattered out. And I really believe that is what is making some of these fall tournaments so tough, is these fish are not grouped as well as we want them to be. They're a little bit spread out for whatever reason right now. So a big common denominator for a lot of the guys that are in the lead is they're catching a lot of fish on docks that are in those type of depths. And they're looking for the right docks, like the one we just showed you that Clunn caught the big bag off of. You need to have a little brush on them. You need to have some depth outside of them, a creek channel swing, main lake access, all that stuff matters. If you can combine all those like Mr. Clunn did on that dock right there, then obviously he had the ultimate recipe and he had the biggest bag maybe of the tournament. We'll see how it holds up before the event is through. Either way, very interesting stuff, a lot of learning opportunities. Hey, give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video. Hit that thumbs up, man. This is a lot of information to digest. I know maybe you need to watch this one more than once, but there's a lot of good knowledge that we can pick up from observing the way these guys are breaking down Lake Fork. So I just realized that I kind of forgot to show you guys the type of baits that Mr. Rick Clunn's been throwing on these docks. He's been throwing really oversized square bills. This is the 6-inch Cloud 9 Magnum square bill and the Mini Mag 3.8. These are kind of the size square bills he's been throwing. The big one he's been throwing is a little bit smaller than that Cloud 9 Magnum, but that 3.8 Mini Mag is exactly the same size and type of square bill that he's been throwing. So that's what he's using. He's using these, deflecting these square lip crankbaits off brush, dock piling, stuff like that. Those are the baits right there that's getting it done around these docks, and outside of them a little bit too. He's fishing outside, and that big one that he lost was actually outside the dock. In fact, he said all the fish are actually not underneath them. Some are relating closer than others, though. I think it's about the depth, the timber, the brush. He's looking for deflections in the right depth range in these areas that have docks, because these docks are holding bait fish. All right, so we've pulled up here to where Bryan De Palma, he was our first leader. Bryan De Palma was our first leader, jumped out to an early lead. In fact, he caught him so fast, he said that he caught him faster than his boat official could even weigh him. Now, the big deal is this bridge right here, right around that first piling, there's a drop off. It goes from about 6 foot to about 10 or 12 foot real quick. It's one of those in-between depths. It's a dynamic piece of structure. It's just like the docks as far as the bottom contours go in the depth range. I don't think so much it's about contours as it is about dynamic cover and the right depth. That's where these in-between fish are holding, and this is a very similar type of scenario. Those fish have shade later in the day just like they have in a dock. I mean, very, very similar situation minus some of the brush. There's not as much brush. Now, I think one of the problems that Bryan De Palma had on day 2, just me thinking out loud here, there is a ton of grass in this area. The north end of this creek holds more grass than just about anywhere else on the lake does. Maybe some other creeks up here on this end do, but it's a ton of grass up here. There's a ton of grass. I don't know if it'll show up on camera. There's a ton of grass going down that bank right there. There's a lot of hydrilla and coontail in this area. There's also a lot of standing timber surrounding him. A lot of these places these guys are having success on these docks have isolated stands of timber. Even the Patrick Walters deal, he's fishing more isolated stands of timber. This is a vast forest of timber and a vast forest of grass, so to speak. Now, what that means, in the fall, these fish like to move around. We've been talking about that a lot as we've gotten further into the fall on the channel. These fish will move around day to day on you. And I believe that what happened to poor Bryan De Palma was he whacked them so quick here early, bailed on them early yesterday, and then when he came here this morning, a lot of those fish had just left. And they probably are just chasing bait fish, and they could be on this grass, and they could be on that grass, and they could be on this timber, and they could be on that timber. And it's a really, really hard deal to stay with these fish day in, day out in the fall. And that's why we're seeing what we've seen. You know, we've always said on this channel, fall can produce some of the best days of the year. It can also produce some of the worst days of the year. And sometimes you don't really understand why a day is good or bad. And it's because those fish are relating so much to those bait fish. If you look when these Elite Series guys go to the herring lakes, and those fish are locked in on herring year round, man, they have a hard time staying on them. They're just very, very mobile when they get uber locked in on these schools of bait fish. As far as the baits Bryan De Palma was throwing, honestly, I'm not sure exactly what Bryan was throwing up here. He didn't have a camera in his boat when he caught all those fish, but hey, we're still rooting for Bryan. Maybe those fish will pull back on the bridge in the morning. He can catch back up on the third day. Don't know exactly where he's in the standings. I know he was still up there around third place, so he's still grinding it out, keeping himself in the hunt. All right, as you guys can see out in front of me, there's some birds sitting on dry land. There's actually, normally Lake Fork's been hovering around 2 foot low. Normally that would be a very, very shallow hump right here in this pocket. But right now it's actually, as you can see, breaking into an island here if the lake drops any more at all. Now I brought you here because we couldn't tell the story of this tournament without telling the story as of day 2 of the biggest fish that has been caught thus far in the tournament. That would be a 9-pound, 9-ounce fish caught by Seth Fighter. It was caught right here. Right off this hump, there is a point that runs out here. And Seth Fighter said that he had gotten a bite or two in practice out in like 10, 12, 14 foot, something like that. And so he came here and fished at day 1 of the tournament, but he just kept sliding up that point, just fishing around, just fishing really, not thinking he was going to catch anything or anything like that. He was throwing a flat-sided square bill crankbait, and as he got into about 4 or 6 foot of water, he caught a 5-pounder, and then he caught a 9-9 right there together. some of the deepest water in the lake, super deep water, is right out there. So it doesn't surprise me that a big one would slide up here. But this is a really random place. This is one of the shallow points that we talk about fishing in the springtime, one of the shell bed type points that we talk about fishing in the pre-spawn, post-spawn time frame. This is not a typical spot for fall. Typically in the fall, fish will go back into creeks or fish will group up on main lake structure. So far, biggest fish of the tournament, 9 pound, 9 ounce, almost a double digit. Hey, last week or 2 weeks ago when they were at Chickamauga, the biggest fish tournament was 5 something. 9 pound, 9 ounce is a big fish. I don't care where you are, what time of year. To have the tough conditions they're having, Lake Fork to still kick out a fish that big, pretty special. Pretty special. That's where it happened, right? Somewhere in this region, right here in front of us. Like, we could make that cast if I had only brought rods. But we're not going to fish when the Elite Series guys are fishing.
16 pounds even today gives you a total of 38 pounds and 9 ounces, but we're not able to duplicate that amazing morning. I mean, a good day today, but I know after yesterday, you got to be feeling like, did the fish move or what happened?
Yeah, so I went back to my starting area, and all them fish that were left, I left them there yesterday. I left probably 40 of them I didn't fish for yesterday. And I go there today, they weren't there, so I totally switched gears at like 9 o'clock, and I ran this lake from one end to the next, man. I put 16 pounds in the boat. I feel like I salvaged my day for the most part, but I'm still happy with the tournament. Overall, I'm really not upset. It is what it is, and tomorrow I'm going to go right back to where I started yesterday and give it all I got.
It's awesome to have you in there, and you're in a great spot, really. Don't let that little bit of a struggle today affect your tournament, because, man, sitting into a pretty spot going in halfway through this tournament.
I like it.
Go get them tomorrow. And over from Denver, North Carolina, get loud for Rob Dye. Today's weight, 12 pounds, 6 ounces, and that a 6'4", gives him 29 pounds, 11 ounces. Rolling through here, your day one leader. He's a 16-time Bassmaster winner, a 32-time Classic qualifier. 4 of those Classics he has won. The legendary Mr. Rick Clunn. Tougher day today, Rick. 3 fish for 7 pounds. Going to give you 36 pounds, 4 ounces, and that explains Lake Fork. I mean, it can be fickle this time of year, but man, I still know you're in this event, and
well, I am, and I was a second fish this morning. I thought I was going to score a touchdown, and I fumbled on the 1 yard line. And I don't know how many of you have seen that one on the camera today, but she was a good one. She was pushing that same 8-pounder I caught yesterday, and when she jumped, I thought I survived her. And she came by the boat, and I looked, and she had one treble hook on this side and one on this side. And I thought she was mine. But sometimes they just aren't going to be caught. And she didn't pull or anything. She just turned on me and swam away. So, that is many years that I've been doing this. It is a lot like other sports when you got to recover from that. But mentally, it's really, really tough to recover from a fish like that. And you're not going to get, if it's a 2-pounder or a 3-pounder, you're going to possibly get other shots at it. But that size fish, that was a very, very important fish.
Tough blow, but the good news is yesterday's weight going to keep you in it, and I know you're going to be fighting right down to the end of this thing.
I'll be here.
I know you will. Let's hear it for Rick Clunn, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, guys, we're at the scene of the crime with one of my personal favorites. One of the guys, if you haven't checked out this man's story, you need to check it out. Mr. Carl Yagerford. Hey, thank you so very much for taking the time. I know you just got done with a long day of fishing, all the rigmarole up there, and you're ready probably to go get some rest and get ready for the next trip. But what are you seeing out there? I mean, I know it's fishing tough. A lot of guys are struggling. What's going on?
Well, they're catching them pretty good, really, but for me, it's just, I don't know, like, I just never got a sort of a grasp on exactly what they're doing. They're doing a little bit of everything. And looking at it, I just didn't either. I don't think I went back far enough. I was sort of trying to stay on the main sort of areas and just inside the creeks. And, I had some bites on the glide in practice on the big swim bait, some good ones, but just never got enough to be like, this is exactly what they're doing. So I had 20 rods on the deck, and I'm like trying to figure it out every day I was out there. And
well, I got out here. I usually have about 18 on the deck this time of year, so don't feel too bad about that. But You know, you have no way of knowing this, but we do a podcast every week on Sunday, and you were in my top 3 this week.
Sorry about that.
So you hurt my feelings. No, but the reason you were in my top 3 was the exact reason that you just mentioned, the glide bait.
Yeah.
I know you like to do that. I know you have the fortitude to do that throughout a tournament. We've seen you do that before, and so I thought, man, if there's a guy that'll put it in his hand and stay with it, if he can get 4 to 5 bites a day, he might have a chance. But it doesn't always work out when you fish that way sometimes.
Yeah, I've learned to use the glide more as a tool, not like really putting it in my hand and just totally using it. It has given me my best years, my best finishes, but I've used it as a tool, as finding a pattern, catching them, and then using it to catch a big fish, not just solid using it. But in the fall, in 18 and 19, I had 3 of my best tournaments because of the fall. Guys were scrambling, fishing small baits, and I would fish that glide, but you have to get the conditions, and the fish have to want to eat it, and they just didn't want it. Like it's like a week away, or you know. But
there's a lot of in between.
Yeah, there's a little in between. They're just not quite going. But like I got some nice bites on it, but then it made me push it a little bit, and then I know in the first 30 minutes if I get some follows, a couple hits, I'm like, they're going to eat this thing if I can get it right, and they just didn't want to do it. So I just never found them, never got around the right areas, and that's fishing. It's weird. Next week I could win another tournament. So it's a strange sport that we're in. You win one, and then you're dead last the next one, and you got to try and deal with that. But
absolutely,
how it goes.
We certainly appreciate you taking time to do this. Hey, like I said, guys, go check out Carl Jacob's store. He's got one of the best ever. Hey, man, thanks so much. Next time you guys are in town, I'd love to link up with you and do this again.
That'd be cool. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya.
Selfie yourself?
Yeah, we're gonna do it just like he is.
All right.
We're gonna go.
Style.
We are. This is low budget live. This is low budget, not so live.
Okay.
All right.
Low budget day.
Hey, we have found probably many of y'all's very favorite angler, Mr. Gerald Swindle out here at Lake Fork. Man, thank you so much.
How you doing, man?
I know you've had a long couple days here on Lake Fork. I know you've had some incidents out there. I sure appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time.
It's all good, man. I did. We beat our stuff up pretty good. I think Mercury's slam out of lower units over there. Lake Fork's rough on some equipment. I got some glass work to do, and I come up a little short of the $10,000 cut, but it happens. You leave it all out there. You come here trying to make the classic. I knew I needed to get inside the top 20, and I just didn't really get to bites. I really struggled on this place.
It can be that way. I guide out here full time, and it can go from one day to the next. I mean, even as great as Rick Clunn did yesterday, he had one key bite that he lost today, and then he struggled real bad today. It can flip flop real quick on you.
Yeah, it just, to me, this lake is hard to pattern and real lucky. A lot of guys just pull in, make one cast, catch an 8-pounder, and then try to catch 4 the rest of the day. So you either that guy that got that lucky bite, or you can struggle all day. I've been here when it's really good, but it ain't good now.
It ain't good now. It's been fishing really tough. That's evident. A lot of people are going to watch this tournament. They're going to look at the top of the field and go, well, he caught 80 pounds or 90 pounds, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah,
but if you look at 40 down, those guys, you guys are really good. And from 40 down, you guys struggle.
That's kind of like them Instagram moms and Instagram girls. If you look on Instagram, they look really good with all that makeup on. But you let it rain on them, they don't look so good.
That's right.
Down toward the bottom, that's an Instagram term. It looks good on paper, but it's really tough out there.
If the filter breaks, right?
If the filter breaks, you're going to get the real deal.
They're out, man. Well, hey, brother, thank you so much.
You guys.
Hey, good luck anytime
Low
you're in
budget
Lake Fork.
we're on.
That's it. That's it. Have a good one, sir. Y'all be safe.
And once again, Chad Pipkins is on Lake Fork. He's catching some giant fish. Tell me about it.
It was fun. I mean, for those of you who aren't out there, when you catch a big bag, you're not catching them all day. There's little bite windows, and it's a struggle. I mean, you see these 25-pound bags, and it doesn't happen easy. I was fortunate to catch a 6-8 right away this morning, and then I caught 1 or 2 fish, I think, the next 5 hours. And it's all about decision making. I swear those fish are just in the timber milling around, and when they show up, I fished the place for the 3rd time today, and they finally showed up, and I caught 3 big ones at the end again, and that's how quick it can happen. And good news is we're not leading this time, and we get to go fishing again. And I think we locked up the Bassmaster Classic spot, and I got to say special thanks to my mom and dad. They're dealing with some stuff now. They're at home, biggest supporters you could have, and they're watching. We're going back to Texas.
John Cox at 20 pounds, 14 ounces yesterday, 15-13 today, in 5th place with 36-11, so not so bad.
Man, I'm telling you, when I saw you over there on the bank, and I was like, I'm just going to go for big ones today. I was struggling for the longest time, and then I caught one that was almost 7, and I was like, all right, you know. So this place is full of big ones. I like it. I just haven't really, I haven't hit them yet. Had one of those, you know, Lake Fork days. So I'm looking forward to maybe, hopefully that happens this week.
And you, unlike a lot of our anglers, had a decent pre-fish, right? I mean, a lot of anglers were really crying the blues coming into this, but
yeah, I mean, I liked the way it looked in practice. I mean, I didn't kill them by any means, but I just, you know, kind of, you know, had similarities to Rayburn and Toledo, but kind of just stuff I've liked before in the past. So I was kind of like, I might be able to catch some here. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow.
So am I. I'm looking forward to see it. Nobody's shocked to see you at semifinal Saturday once again. Let's hear it for John Cox, ladies and gentlemen.
You may have to tell me how to pronounce that last name. That's a tough one for me. I know it's Ed
Loughran.
Loughran.
Yep.
That's not spelled Loughran.
Well, I'm Irish, you know, and in Ireland, Lough, L-O-U-G-H, that's how it's pronounced. That stands for lake, actually.
Right. So you're Ed
Loughran, Lakeman.
You're Ed Lakeman.
That's it, Lakeman.
That's Ed Lakeman, and I'm Billy Lawson. So I don't know what all that means, but it means that this man is on them. Second place.
I'm in second right now, and I feel very fortunate to have done what I've done the past couple of days. Had difficult practice, but I am on something that if I get a little lucky, the ones I'm catching are real big fish.
Right.
You know, I've caught a 7 and a 5 yesterday, 2 5s and a 6 today, and a 4 yesterday. So I'm catching better fish. I'm just not getting bites. So I had 6 bites today, lost 1. Don't know how big it was, but it was pretty solid. Yesterday, you know, I only had 6 or 7 bites also. So, but they're good ones.
And we've seen you on like, don't worry, this doesn't come out till after the tournament. So we've seen you on boat docks, on the live coverage.
Yes.
So you primarily fishing boat docks, and I'm kind of familiar with that area. You've been spending some time in up there. Is there a key depth? Is there what's the key to you on those boat docks? Because there's always a pattern inside a pattern on boat docks.
You know, I'm not really sure, but I know the depth that the fish are generally seems to be about 3 or 4 feet.
Okay.
And that's where they are. And most of the bigger ones, if not all of them, are on casts where you cast across the dock, but under it, but across the dock, you know, under it. So you're not bringing
not
it,
paralleling
not paralleling, like facing it and paralleling it. You're throwing it under. And often I got to make multiple casts at the same spot. And so it's painful.
It looks right. It's where you've been getting a bite. You're just hitting it.
Exactly. And you like to have something else going on there, whether it's an additional piling, a pipe, maybe something under there, but you like something different, and that really has been it. And I think my casting has really helped. I like skipping docks. I'm pretty decent at it, and so I might be getting baits that people don't throw in the areas they don't throw.
Man, that's great. Well, great job so far. We're kind of doing a vlog series. We're documenting the entire tournament, so hopefully we can talk to you Sunday, and who knows where that's going to end up, because right now you're there. I mean,
I'm there. It could happen. You never know. I could blank tomorrow, but I also could bring in another 20.
That's right. You could.
It's
and
always fishing.
Who knows what's going to happen with Patrick. Patrick's doing great. He's kind of got a stretch out lead, but on this lake, it's literally one bite.
I know what's going to happen with Patrick. He's going to keep catching them.
I think so.
He's that good.
I think so too. He's that good, and he's on a deal, and he's got it to himself completely.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he's doing a good job.
He told me what it was, and he's strong.
He's in good shape. He's looking good.
Absolutely.
He's going to have to beat himself, I think.
Yeah.
Would you say that? You're in second.
Yes, and he's not going to beat himself. He's a veteran, even though he's only 26, 27 years old. He is far beyond his years. Extremely nice guy, great fisherman. I'd be real worried if you wanted to win this tournament. If you're not Patrick.
Fair enough. Hey, we'll be watching you. We'll be pulling for you. Thank you so much for taking time to do this.
Thank you, sir.
26 pounds, 14 ounces today, giving you 52 pounds and 12 ounces.
And no big fish.
And not an over today, but man, that is Lake Fork. I mean, over halfway to the Century Club, but man, with a giant lead, but I'm sure you still don't feel safe, because anything can happen here.
No, I'm going out tomorrow like the weights are at 0, because this is Lake Fork, and if I caught 26 pounds, somebody can go out there and catch 35. They do live here. This is Lake Fork, I'm telling you. I'm having a blast this week. I'm catching a bunch of fish. Practice was okay, but I thought I could catch some fish, but once I started leaning on them, I was kind of surprised of what actually lived there. But had a great day with 26. I need to go catch that 2 more days, and we'll see what happens.
I would love to see it, but I mean, you've won at every level. You've won at the Carhartt College level. You have won at the open level multiple times now.
an Elite Series title to cap off this year. Tell me what that would mean to you at this point in your career.
That's everything. That is on the bucket list. That is on top, is to get a win, to get that blue trophy, you know. And everybody out here works hard, but I'm telling you, I've been putting in some time, and that's what I'm shooting for, and that's why, hey, there is no lead right now, and we're going to keep the foot on the gas and stomp on them.
Look out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for your tournament leader.
Man, what an awesome day this has been. Day 2, man. I've had so much fun coming out here, hanging out at the Bassmaster Elite Series Texasfest. We got some great interviews for some guys. I don't know, we might be wrapping this video up. We might be doing a part 2. If I decide to do a part 2, you guys make sure you check out part 2. I'll air it the very next day just as fast as I can. We got a lot of content today. We got a lot of knowledgeable content. We got a lot of informative content. We also got some cool inside looks from some of the guys. Talked to them right as they were coming off stage. Some of those guys that weren't doing so well, like Gerald, you could tell Gerald, he was down, man. But Gerald's such a great guy. He still had the grace to take the time to talk to us before he took off, man. And you know, it's the end of a long season. He's really sad. I don't think he made the Classic, so you know that's got to be affecting him mentally big time. And then you had guys like Mr. Ed Lachlan. What a great tournament he's having. He's in second place. He's, I think, a little bit shy of 10 pounds behind Patrick Walters, and just so humble. He's sure that Patrick's going to win it, but hey, you never know what's going to happen in this sport, and especially on this lake, man. Look what happened to Rick Clunn. 30 pounds on one day, like 7 or 8 pounds on the next day, whatever it was. Rick had a tough day today. You never know what's going to happen on Lake Fork. We still got day 3 and day 4. Now, I will not be here, but I will give you guys a review and recap. I'll watch as much live coverage as I can tomorrow. I've got my kids' soccer on Saturday, so I will not be here at the lake. Sunday, I will be here for the event. I will be seeing what's going on in person. We'll be doing the same kind of breakdown on what they're doing on Sunday as we did today. And, of course, we'll try to talk to some of them as they get done weighing in. And bonus, Patrick Walters got his contact info. He's going to be a guest on the podcast. Not the Sunday after the tournament, but the next Sunday following that. So we will have an in-depth, long-form interview with Patrick Walters about everything he was doing out here. He's going to give us all the goods and details on that. Seems like a super great, nice guy. So can't wait for that. Right now, I got to get down there in the Skeeter, and I got to run. Hopefully the Skeeter's still down there at this point. It is still down there. I just say it's right there. I got to get in the Skeeter. I got to run and go to a seminar. It's a busy life being a social media fishing guide, I can tell you that. I've been out here all day, getting as much information as I can for y'all. Now I've got to go talk about all that information across the way at Lake Fork Marina. We're about to go do the seminar right now. So, maybe this video will continue. I think we got enough content. This will be a 2-parter. So, that being said, thank you so much. Go check out our sponsor, sixpensfishing.com. It's linked in the description, blah, 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 blah. And really, thank you guys a lot for watching this. We'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide. I'm tired. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's go.